Welcome to a brief video tutorial on the parts of speech, a review of some terms that hopefully you've heard at some point in your education, probably in grade school. Articles and determiners, nouns, pronouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, conjunctions, prepositions, and interjections. And we're also going to look at how to consider not just individual words as parts of speech, but also how to look at phrases as performing the same function as parts of speech, which can really help us to analyze grammar issues in sentences. If you're taking English 1083 and you're watching this video for that class, that concept of looking at phrases as single words in a sentence is going to help you out throughout the semester. So let's jump into it and start looking at a quick review here of what the parts of speech actually are. Again, you probably have heard most of these in grade school, and hopefully you're familiar with them. If you're not, I really recommend making yourself familiar with them as much as you need to, because they're going to come into play a lot. What are nouns? They're people, places, or things, and things can include concepts and ideas. So we can have actual tangible things that we can touch being nouns. The cat, noun, sat on the wall, noun. Or we can also have concepts, Bill, noun, thought about his future, noun. We can't touch the future, but it's a concept or an idea, so it's a noun. Articles and determiners are another part of speech. Articles are really just three words in the English language, a, an, and the. Determiners function the same way that articles do in the sense that they signal a noun. These might include demonstrative pronouns like this, that, these, and those, or possessive nouns and pronouns like his, her, Mary's, Bill's, etc. A article cat, noun, sat on the article wall, noun. Functions in the same way that these is the determiner for shoes. They say which shoes we're talking about. Belong to Mary's, determiner for aunt, a noun. So those are articles and determiners. What are pronouns? Pronouns take the position of a noun or refer to a noun. Is Steve really going out with her? Her being the pronoun. Steve is a proper noun. He, pronoun, told me, pronoun, that we, pronoun, were going to the movies Saturday. Adjectives act as modifiers of nouns or pronouns. They describe or further qualify what the noun or the pronoun is. The green adjective car, noun, crashed into the white adjective building. Green tells us what type of car, white tells us what type of building. An old adjective woman was injured in the horrible adjective accident, noun. Old tells us what type of woman, horrible tells us what type of accident. Verbs, of course, are action words, words that show action. Bill stood is the verb from his chair and walked, verb, across the room. Adverbs modify verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. They often, but not always, end in ly. The car moved. How did it move? Slowly is the adverb, toward its destination. Slowly modifying the verb moved, it says how the action was performed. It qualifies that action word, the verb. But adverbs can also modify adjectives. As in the second example, his rude comment was a thinly adverb, veiled adjective, insult, noun. Veiled is an adjective that modifies insult, noun. But thinly doesn't modify the noun insult. Thinly modifies the adjective veiled. It says what type of veiled insult it was. Conjunctions are connecting words, sentences, or clauses. They can coordinate or subordinate. You don't have to worry too much right now about the terms coordinating and subordinating. We'll talk about them in another lesson. But when we coordinate, it's basically a word coming in to make equal two parts of a sentence. And if it subordinates, well, that word obviously makes two parts of a sentence not equal in some way. So in the first example here, Bill and Sue made dinner before they went to the movies. And is our conjunction, and before is a conjunction as well. Now, and in the first example there, and the conjunction works to coordinate. In the second, before, it works to subordinate because it makes the second part of the sentence not able to stand on its own in comparison to the first part, which you can see in the second example there. Before conjunction, they went to the movies. Bill and conjunction Sue made dinner. What's happened is before has become what's called a subordinating conjunction and made that phrase a dependent clause. Before they went to the movies, comma, cannot stand on its own. Whereas Bill and Sue made dinner is an independent clause. It can stand on its own as a sentence. We'll cover that in another lesson. Prepositions direct to the location and time or place of a noun. They usually come before the noun, occupying the preposition, and this is how they've got their name. The boys walked down, preposition, the embankment below the bridge. And because they occupy that preposition, you get the rule that you've probably heard at some points in English language that you should never end a sentence with a preposition because then it wouldn't be in the preposition anything, right? So the boys walked down, preposition, the embankment, noun, to preposition, the bridge. And you or I might say, where were the boys walking to? Sounds okay to me. But strict grammarians will say, no, you should switch it around. Put that preposition in the preposition, to preposition, where the noun becomes a prepositional phrase, were the boys walking. We won't get into interjections much at all, but interjections are exclamatory words like, ah, I knew it, oh, how I wish it would stop raining, and woo, I'm glad that's over. Importantly here, thinking of phrases as single words in order to determine their parts of speech is a very easy way to break down and identify and analyze sentences grammatically. Now, a phrase is just a string of words that acts as a unit in a sentence, and they can perform the same function a single word performs, such as a noun phrase. Bill, noun, was, verb, unhappy, adjective. It's not too much of a stretch to take a simple sentence like that and replace the single words with phrases, but everything will still have the same function. So let's replace the last word, unhappy, the adjective, with a noun phrase that's slightly more complex, but will have the same function of an adjective in the sentence. Bill, noun, was a welcome sight. Still, the phrase a welcome sight modifies Bill and describes what Bill, the noun, is. In the same way, we could take the single word Bill and make it more complex. The clear sky, noun phrase, was a welcome sight. So now we've got a welcome sight is acting as a noun phrase that's an adjective for the clear sky. It's a real easy way to kind of wrap your head around analyzing a sentence. A prepositional phrase begins with a preposition and ends with a noun. It does not have a verb in it. Here are some examples of prepositional phrases. In is a preposition. The morning is a noun phrase. So it's all a prepositional phrase. I walked to my house. That's a prepositional phrase. And you can stretch that out and make it a little more complex as well. In, preposition, the morning. The morning is a noun phrase. The whole thing, in the morning, is a prepositional phrase. I received, and again, received is a verb, so you'll never find that a verb in a prepositional phrase. Negative feedback is itself a noun phrase. Feedback is a noun. Negative modifies it. On my late paper is another prepositional phrase. And as you move along and look at other functions within a sentence, such as subjects and predicates, things like that, you can do the exact same thing. So let's take a simple sentence like I ran quickly. I is the subject of a sentence. Ran is the verb. Quickly is an adverb that modifies the verb ran, says how the action was taken out. Let's take the single word I and make it more complex, turn it into a noun phrase. The cat, it's still the subject of the sentence. Ran is the verb. Quickly, adverb. Let's take the end of the sentence and make it more complex by making, instead of having a single word quickly, let's have a phrase there. The cat ran around the house. Now we have a prepositional phrase, 3 words instead of just one, but they still tell how the action of ran was carried out, and so they're still an adverb. And just to review, we've looked at the traditional parts of speech, gotten an idea of what they are, and then looked at how to use whole phrases or strings of words to think of them as single words in order to figure out what part of speech the phrase might be playing in a sentence, because this can often make analyzing the grammar of a sentence much easier.